Okay, so when it comes to money, I mean, obviously people are protective of their money. And one of the biggest issues I think is like the predictability. Like no one really knows how, or is it predictable? Like to your point, your friend gave you a $5, Bitcoin, and then 4 months later, 6 months later, it was worth $50. And we have seen cryptocurrencies do those kinds of insane fluctuations. When was it, 2 years ago? In kind of like the winter months, it went crazy from, was it September or October until like
Mhm.
February. It was just an insane rapid growth. So should people have more confidence? Like, how should people be thinking about this or considering cryptocurrency in general so that they can get more comfortable with it and have a better understanding? Like, what can we compare it to?
Sure. Um, I look at it, I have a high degree of confidence in the future for Bitcoin, and I have it from any number of different sources or reasons, let's say, and a lot of folks haven't had the same history, background, or experience that I have. So it's not obvious to try and convince people. But where I look at the first computer I ever used to the computer I'm talking to you on today, where I look at the um, first cell phone I ever used to the cell phone that I have today, and I look at the path that money is on in sort of the same way. Like we used to have paper bills that got extremely wrinkly. Then we got coins like a loonie to represent a dollar. Then we got a bimetallic coin. We got the toonie that was gold in the middle and silver on the outside and somehow smushed together. And then we have now polymer bills, and then polymer bills in second generation with like prettier holograms, and like polymer bills that recognize women or black women for like the first time other than the queen. Like money is a construct of society, and society is making progress. So the likelihood, and then now we have email money transfer, and then we have credit cards being proliferated to folks who shouldn't have credit cards, basically. And we have credit cards, we have people using credit cards for $1 transactions, which didn't really used to be a thing. Like the idea that you would take out your credit card in the drive-through at McDonald's, I want to say 15 years ago, was kind of foreign. People would almost look at you funny making minuscule purchases on credit card. And now it's like literally everything, or you just tap your phone and it accesses a temporary single-use privacy-focused credit card number that bills back to your original credit card through Google and Apple. So we can clearly see this transition or these changing norms of society around what is money. The government is helping by printing an almost unlimited supply of it. Like if the only thing that's scarce in life was money, it's less so the case now. And like people have an unlimited demand for money, basically. So that's okay. Like supply and demand can be balanced because the government can print an unlimited amount, and there's no way that I'll be happy making what I made this year compared to what I'm going to make next year. So when you combine all of these forces and a 10-year track record of Bitcoin moving progressively higher, if it can be 20,000 Canadian, what's stopping it from being 200,000 Canadian? Like it's a crazy idea already that it's 20. It was a crazy idea that it went from having no value to any value. What's stopping it from doing that? And I can't think of what's stopping it. And I've considered it for a long time. So if you think of the entire economic output of the entire world measured in quadrillions of dollars, and you express that as some portion that, Bitcoin will own some portion of that activity, the percentage doesn't have to be very high to offer a significant return. But portfolio construction is a very worthy topic, and I would not recommend most folks who don't have $500 to cover their next car repair to speculate on the value of a extremely experimental technology in the short term.
Mhm.
But if
Yeah, it's a long-term game.
it's like any investment, it's a long-term game. And if you have, a portfolio that some of it is fun money, that you take flyers on individual stocks, or you take more risk than you should, or whatever the case is, allocating 1% to to a new way of thinking about money or finance or banking doesn't seem that risky, number one. And number two, has a high expected future value, like trade-off or payoff. Like when you take a 50-50 bet playing a hand of blackjack or at a roulette table, you're understanding that you could double your money or you could lose all of it. Well, with Bitcoin, it's a very different trade-off. Like you could lose 50% or you could gain 100x,
200.
10x.
Yeah.
Like we don't know. So
Right.
to me, it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense to you, keep reading because it might start to make sense. And it's extremely annoying that the folks, again, who have benefited greatly from taking early bets in Bitcoin have been rewarded so handsomely because they're nerds. They're super nerdy, bad social skills, think they're right about everything, or types of people sometimes. And whether they're the type of people that you don't want to bump into around the Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner table, like thankfully you've been spared this year. But they're on crypto Twitter or Bitcoin Twitter, and they've got some strong ideas about a lot of things. But there are also, and unfortunately, you're more likely to bump into those people at random than you are to bump into the extremely well-educated, bright, and well-financed people working in the industry to make all of this stuff a reality. The Caitlin Longs, the Trevor Kaverkos, like there's a lot of folks in North America or even in Canada alone that have invested a significant amount of time and effort and money to making real technology and real services out of this harebrained idea of Bitcoin.